All right. All right. It's not the Masters, but we got plenty of golf here at Stokastic. A little RBC Heritage, PGA DFS live before lock. We're going to get into the golfers. We're going to get into everything else going on. We're going to talk Harbor Time, the elevated event, and we'll recap the Masters. Why not? I am Ben Rasa. I am joined by Geoff Ulrich, as I always am. We were talking a little before the show about Augusta. We were both in a pretty good mood about it. Feel good there, and we got a lot to look forward to. So how are you? I know you're sweating last couple days on the ice. A lot going on in the sports world.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Got NFL draft coming up too is big,
Yeah.
but NHL playoffs. I think we're both interested in that. Got some Oilers exposure there. Fun week. The lineup that was high up at one point on Sunday didn't end high up, but it was close.
You had a sweat. You did have a sweat.
Absolutely, man. I mean, the 9 holes to go for the leaders and was in first in the 200. It can't, it was there. There was a path, but it was thin. Needed probably Hovland and Brooks basically to finish, in the top 3 and maybe take out Rom, but was never really going to happen. But good week nonetheless. We both hit on Thigala, sorry, and yeah, man. I mean, I thought it was a fun event. It's a fun weekend for me, even with the stoppages. Sunday felt like a marathon day, but I enjoyed it.
I did as well. All about expectations, honestly, and that's kind of DFS in a nutshell.
Yep.
I hitched my wagons pretty hard to Rory, and so when I got to the weekend, I legitimately was like, "Don't lose 100%." And that would be good. And I had a couple really timely min cashes and some good stuff. I felt like a winner because of that. So it's amazing how different it can be depending on where you're going in. And all in all, there wasn't a ton. I mean, the Rory thing was shocking, but there wasn't a ton else.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't think it was crazy that the live guys played well. I didn't think it was crazy, obviously, that Rom won. There weren't that many surprises. Tiger's body didn't hold up. Not surprising. Phil, let me take it back. Phil was surprising and dumb.
Yeah, I mean,
come on.
I under 1% owned. In a lot of tournaments. He played with Jordan Spieth on Sunday. I'm not shocked that those two both went well in the pairing. I thought it's like the perfect pairing for those two. But to see Phil just all of a sudden, birdie the last 2 holes. I mean, it's pretty crazy, man. Like, it really is. He is just that talented a player, though. You just forget at some point. And I mean, you forget, like, he won a major like in 2021. I mean, all this stuff has happened since, but man, just an uber talent, and he hasn't had to deal with the injuries that Tiger Woods has. So I don't know, man. It feels like Phil's just always going to be a factor at Augusta, like until he's like 60. So it was definitely the most shocking thing. I like you. I mean, we talked about Brooks. Brooks was the one player I was really expecting to play well. I wasn't really shocked at Reed either. Nice to see Neiman make the weekend. I thought that was a really good call by you. Definitely a player, just can't forget about, these guys. The talent is still there. Just because they're playing less, we just can't discount them. And I think this is the perfect week just to remind ourselves of that. So
absolutely. Again, it was just, all in all, I thought it was a pretty good Masters. I was happy to see most of it. And when we turn the page, now normally, I will say, I got one last thing about the Masters, and then I'll get to the elevated event. You're around the golf industry, of course. You know some things. What do you make of the Patrick Cantlay situation? Because there was a ton with that. I don't know shit about golf. It seemed pretty apparent to me that that's a legitimate gripe, like of how slow he was playing. And Hovland looked even disturbed in his own group. What did you make of that?
I mean, I make of it as like we've seen it with other players. Like JB Holmes has legitimately ruined tournaments. JB Holmes legitimately has taken wins away from players because of how slow he plays, and not even when he's in contention, but when people are playing behind him, much like Brooks and Rom were.
Yeah.
I know my guy Henley and Paul Casey went out in behind JB Holmes at the Travelers one season. They were in the final group, and both of them just were ass because they had to wait for just JB fucking Holmes every hole. So it's a legitimate gripe. It is. I mean, but the thing is, and this is what I said then, and this is what I'll say now, until the PGA does something to actually enforce it, Patrick Cantlay isn't breaking any rules by being a slow motherfucker. Like he's just slow And if no one's penalizing him for it, then, you know, like he's just going to keep doing it. Jason Day was the same way. Day's actually, I think, improved a little bit in that regard. And I think he actually, like, you know, took it personally and tried to improve just in as a player and just as like a human being, quite frankly. But look, man, it's the PGA's issue. Like, I don't really blame Patrick Cantlay. Like, he's basically being told by the PGA, do whatever you want out there. So he's going to do whatever he wants. If he thinks it gives him an advantage, then he's going to take as much time as he can.
Yeah, we see it the same way. It just reminds me of, you see this in the NBA and in baseball. Like, we're going to change the rule, the pitch clock. We're going to be super, stingent on it early, and you'll get used to it pretty quickly. And the flop rules in the NBA, we're going to call it a lot, and then we'll ease up. Like, you got to set the tone, and they do not do that at the PGA, and it condones what clearly is affecting other players. It's not fair. I don't blame Cantlay, but at the same time, I think it's a ridiculous situation. But I wanted to see kind of what you thought there. Anyway, we move on to bigger and better. A lot of money up for grabs. A lot of things we're going to get to tonight. And we're going to start, of course, with the sponsor, our friends, with the Rainmaker content. I've seen a lot of people. The contests are all over the lobby. So if you haven't gotten involved and you want to, always start with the free stuff. That's an evergreen statement. Like, if you're going to get involved in stuff, get the stuff for free and then figure it out. And Rainmakers, you can get your free pack just by clicking the description below. It's right there. You click it, you check it, you see there's errors retrieving your offer. Come back later. That's what it says. No problem. It's easy stuff. You get that. You check out what you got. Maybe you field a lineup or two and you go from there. But I know there's money to be made there. It's a fun thing. If you enjoy that type of stuff and you want a new format, check out PGA Rainmakers for DraftKings. They're obviously putting a lot of resources into it. And it's not going anywhere anytime soon, that's for sure. So I wanted to get that there. And we are at Harbortown. We're at an elevated event. What do you make of that before we even start to dive into Harbortown? Like, this is a crazy turnaround for a ton of the field.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And now it's an elevated event. Like, it's a different factor here. I mean, we saw a few more players play here last season who were in contention at Augusta. Cameron Young came out and was the first round leader, faded. Oh my God, I'm completely. Oh yeah, and I mean Spieth again though. I mean, I missed cut at Augusta and then came and won, and that's something we'll talk about in a sec. But yeah, it's, this event has been, because of the nature of the course, it's so quirky and it's so technical. I mean, we compare it to other P-Dive venues, but honestly, it doesn't even really have a comparison. It is so tight and it is so technical that it really throws a lot of players off. And you see players like you'll be going through and you'll be like, this guy's record, like Ricky Fowler's never made a cut here in like 5 attempts. You'll see players like that, like Russell Knox, another example where he was like top 20 like 4 years in a row, and then like 4 missed cuts. So this course produces a lot of variance, and it brings a lot of weird players in. Satoshi Kodaira is one of them, and we could easily get another winner like that this week. So, I'm not going to go and say just because of the course, you don't play the top players or something like that. I'm betting players at the top still. You should. These guys are motivated by money when it all comes down to it. They're going to be out there trying to get their $4 million or whatever. So, but it's a quirky course. It's a short turnaround. If we're ever going to see a big winner, like a big 100-to-1 winner in an elevated event, this is definitely a spot for it.
It's fascinating because, again, you mentioned this. I always try to talk about it on a sliding scale where you have some courses in the middle. You have some courses like Quail Hollow to me where it's like you better be able to really drive the ball and get it out there. And then you get this course. This is on the other side of the extreme. Like, this truly masks your abilities to really overpower a course. You simply can't do it. It's not possible here. It doesn't mean you don't want to drive it good. It doesn't mean you can't gain off the tee. It does mean, though, you're going to have to think around this course. And, I was talking earlier in the week about this. Like, it's not even just keep it in the fairway. Like, there's a lot of, you want to be on a certain side of the fairway because you can be blocked off. It's that type of track.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it just frustrates players, like to a point too, where it's like, okay, you hit a decent shot, but then it's like your second shot, you almost have no chance to attack the pin or something, So, and you just have to be patient as well. You can't go for too much. Like the par threes are the same. So, yeah, this is like, if there's one course where you'd say, okay, I'm going to actually look at driving accuracy stats this week, this is it. So, tight technical track where you're taking driver almost on none of the holes. It's also a seaside venue, which again, just like the wind and how it can come in and out, that, certain players like that it affects the draw. So it's just got a lot of different factors going on here. It's a really nice course. Like visually, it's kind of cool, but it's way different than, especially at Augusta. Like it is, Augusta's just, I know they're both kind of tree lined and stuff, but Hilton Head or Harbor Town is flat and it's just all encased and there's no room off the fairways. Whereas Augusta is, like even if you miss the fairways, there's room on most holes and you can kind of get it out from the trees anyways. So yeah, very different style from what we saw last week.
Yeah, it's fascinating. And then the other wrinkle before we start, we're gonna build some lineups right off the bat here, so get ready. The other thing that's kind of crazy, and I'm not saying it doesn't mean we couldn't see some off the wall winners, but Satoshi won, Stuart Sink won, CT Pan won. They're fending off a handful of RBC sponsored elite players. Now all the big guns are here because of an elevated event. And that is a different wrinkle that Heritage normally doesn't see. Normally there's a couple of players. The world's best are basically here. And that I think is going to be fascinating when we look at the board outrights and for DFS.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I agree. That's why I said, I mean, like, I wouldn't be shocked if we got like a crazy kind of winner, 100 to 1 or something, but it's not, it's an elevated event still. And I mean, the best players, we've never had this deep a field on this course. Actually, we did, I guess, in 2020, but even that was a little bit different circumstances. It was in May, or it was in June. There was no wind and the winner was like 2,400 and it was still Webb Simpson. It was like a top 10 player back then. So, we have actually seen the top players and they actually did pretty well. So.
Yeah. I mean, listen, they can play anywhere, even though it's a little wild. All right. We've talked about the course a little. Let's do it. Let's start building some quick. We're just going to do some quick lineups here. And we're going to do it, of course, with the brand new tool. You guys saw it last week. It's fun. It's easy. I'm going to talk about it. It's a lineup generator. What do you say, Jordan? You want to build some lineups? We go here. We click DraftKings. You select basically, of course, your site. I'm going to go with DraftKings tournaments. Then it's going to bring up what kind of lineups do we want? Well, I always go contrarian because we want to get tournament-centric lineups. Again, all these. Now you get to this screen. You can lock someone in. You can skip it. I like Tony Finau, our boy. I'm just going to generate some Tony Finau lineups right off the bat. Doesn't mean we're going to play him and everything. And boom. Quick, easy lineups. They're generated in 2 seconds. You see them. They're going to be contrarian. We got Davis Thompson's in the first lineup. All right. If you like it, you press save. If you don't, you press discard. It's pretty damn simple. And the more you rack up, you get a handful. It's going to show you your exposures in a quick, easy format. It doesn't get better than this. Again, when you like them, put them into the CSV. It exports immediately. If you don't, you can easily remove and swap 1v1s. This is the way to make quick and easy lineups. I can speak from personal. I use this. I'm going to continue to use this. I like the way it works for my lineups. The swap is right there. You just press the arrows. If you're interested in trying this out, we have a weekly package. Just click the link below. Give it a shot. It's like $8, $9 for the first week. Very, very simple. It's $9 for any week. You can get it. PGA lineup generator. Again, it's a really cool tool. They did a great job here. It's quick, easy, and you can build the lineups that you want, especially if you want to generate like 10 or 15, 20 lineups in a heartbeat, having some fun spinning the wheel. This is the way to do it.
We need the devs to make like a shitty European tour lineup, like all Matthias Schwab and like Alex Noren lineup. I mean,
yeah. I'm gonna have custom, like you can generate
the Rasa special.
Yeah, and it's just gonna be Griot,
Aaron
Ricky,
Wise,
Ben Martin. It's gonna be perfect. Like all sorts of customizable things are coming to this. It's really a great tool. I can't speak enough about it. It's fun, it's simple, and it fits for golf perfectly. I know you guys may have used it for NBA or MLB. Yeah. PGA, this is where you want to be using this because it's just fantastic. It really is. Now, again, normally I'd be saying we got Jordan Spieth and Matt Kuchar and a couple no, we got Rahm and Scheffler leading us off as we do at any tournament that they play in. Spieth is here. He's been adamant that he's exhausted. Patrick Cantlay is here, and Morikawa is the last guy in the 10K range and up. What do you make of your top tier here when you try to break it down?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like if this was like 5 years ago, the Jordan Spieth I'm exhausted thing may have just gone under the radar. But clearly, when you look at the ownership projections on Stokastic, it's not going under the radar. It's going very noticed. He's the same price as Patrick Cantlay. There is now an ocean between them in terms of ownership percentages, which is really troubling for me. The one thing I absolutely hate in PGA, especially for fantasy betting, is listening to players and making my decisions based off what a player tells me. Like, oh, I'm injured. What does that mean? Like, how injured are you? Did you have like a scrape? Jordan Spieth, I'm fatigued. You just finished top 5 in the Masters. Like, how fatigued are you here, friend? So I don't know. It sucks because I like Patrick Cantlay. Like, I legitimately think that if you're betting, one of the top 3 players, you should probably bet Patrick Cantlay. But my God, like, that is a big, vast gap in ownership percentages. So you've got to make a decision right off the top. If you're using Cantlay, that's fine. Probably your second guy in, whoever it's going to be. Maybe you go Spieth and Cantlay again. That's fine, but you try and get a little bit of lower ownership, or you make some decisions down below. I do prefer Patrick Cantlay. I think all this nonsense talk is just he's someone who's just going to shrug it off, and he has absolutely just dominated this course. He's a great wedge player. His putter probably, doesn't even have to show up, I think, much this week, just considering how good he is in the rest of the game. So I like Cantlay. Spieth is obviously a contrarian option up here. I don't hate going to him at all. And I don't hate starting lineups with Cantlay though either.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm not Patrick Cantlay. He's going to be popular. There's no doubt about it, but I do think it's warranted. Great setup for him. I'm stunned by Jordan Spieth's ownership. I really am. I'm not saying that thought he was going to be mega popular, but he is trending just north of 5%. And that's just shocking to me. I'm going to try to get pretty cute and just say that Rahm, as good as he is, not that he's not going to be ready to play, but I'm going to try to beat him. I'm going to probably go elsewhere. And if he wins again, I have to live with it. He's a great player. There are so many unquantifiable variables here with him. I mean, who the hell knows how much he has left? And he's here, and I'm sure he'll be ready to go, but I am going to try to beat him with Cantlay, a little Scheffler, and with Morikawa, who I really do like. Yeah. Yes, his short game at times has been bad here. He has not figured out the greens. He's lost over 2 strokes putting every time he's teed it up here. But the last 2 times he's teed it up here, he's also gained 7+ strokes with the approach. So he's got this figured out. He just needs to putt a little bit, and I think he'll do that this week. I like him as a starting point at flat 10.
I like the Cantlay Morikawa combo too. If you're going to double up here, Morikawa is nice because his ownership is quite a bit less than Cantlay. So you're not getting crazy chalk right off the bat. Like, if you're going Scheffler, Cantlay, you'd have to really, I think, get super contrarian with a couple of your picks, in my opinion, anyways. So I like the Morikawa as well. I like the upside with Cantlay better, but Morikawa is definitely would be my number 2. And like you said, no problem starting lineups with him either, just because there's definite upside, in the 8K range and stuff where you compare him with. So, yep, I would actually go like Cantlay, Morikawa is my 2 favorite plays here. Again, much like you, I mean, I feel like with the course, the conditions, the scheduling, it's a good week to try and take on these top 2 players. It won't shock me if Scheffler bounces back here and goes out and wins again. I have actually more fear of Scheffler than Rahm because of the whole Masters hangover thing, but I think it's a good week to really take shots with Cantlay and Morikawa.
We see it. We kind of align there. Now let's talk about the second half of the top tier. Still the top tier in my mind, and it's we talked about this last week. The 9K range in these type of major level fields is, I mean, you have guys. The only thing that makes them in the 9K range is maybe they're not playing to the height of their powers. Victor Hovland, he actually is. Cam Young, Tony Finau, Xander, Max Homa. JT's not even in the 9K range. I mean, how crazy is that? When have we seen him sub 9K? That's ridiculous. What do you make particularly of Hovland and Cam Young? Because on the surface, you feel like, okay, is some of their best attributes mitigated here, or can they coexist? I mean, Hovland loves OHL of all places. There's some weird things there. What do you make of the upper 9s?
Yeah, Hovland has done pretty well here, but he's been held back a little bit. He's kind of got a similar record to Morikawa. I actually prefer Hovland over Cam Young. I know that the world seems to like Cam Young this week. It's not that I don't like him, but no, he was in contention last week. He put in a really good performance. He locked himself up another Masters appearance. I know that there's correlation. Like we saw him do this last year where he came and played so well, but like from a long-term perspective, I mean, is Harbor Town really like where we're targeting Cam Young? It just seems so foreign to me. And when you've got, especially for DFS, like you have another, like if you want to take a contrarian move, just play Tony Finau. I mean, everyone's playing Cam Young. Everyone's betting Cam Young. Like Finau's just down there. He's a similar type of player. And I think he's probably actually, if you really look at their records, Finau has probably done better on some of these tracks. He almost won at Colonial. He's Valspar is another place Finau's popped up. Like Finau actually has more experience playing these tracks. And I think for DFS, that is certainly where I would go. So Hovland is, I prefer him over Cam Young. He's not a must play. I would rather just play Morikawa, but Finau and Xander, I kind of prefer over both those guys. I think Xander's fine. I don't love him. It's just like any week with Xander. I don't love him, but I don't hate him. If you want to triple up in this range or something and include him, that's fine. But yeah, I probably like you. I mean, I see the value in Finau again this week, just as a lower owned option.
Yeah, I mean, Cam Young is a really talented player. There's no doubt. I always try to flag a sample size of one in terms of tournament history, particularly when it seems like a not good fit on paper and it's good. Like there's a very real chance in 5 years we say, Cam Young, you remember that time he top 3, he was third here and now he's had no success. That wouldn't shock me at all. It's just that happens. And it might have just happened to be the first time he played it. So I'm definitely willing to go to Finau. Xander, there is nothing to say about this guy. He's an enigma. I say it every time. I don't know what the hell goes on with his game. I think he's fine. He's not going to be popular per se, but he's not going to be unpopular. I mean, he's still amongst the top 5 to 10 most popular plays. It's not like crazy chalk, but you're not alone there. And I think his price is reasonable, but Xander he did enough last week to keep me interested, but he also, there's a reasonable question about how good is Xander? Like, is he this price or is he actually overpriced?
Xander is so good at just being very good and just staying in the very good category and not falling down to the, oh, he's only good, and not going up to the he's elite. He just stays there. He just does enough every season to just stay in that one spot where you just don't even know what you should be doing. Is he undervalued or is he overvalued? I don't like, that's the thing. I could make a case. I mean, it's like, well, maybe he is a better option than Finau here. He's almost won at Sawgrass. He's won the Olympic gold medal, but then you look down and he's like, well, like Thomas and Immer down there. How is Schauffele better than these guys? He's not. So I just don't even know. Like I said, if you want to play him in there, that's fine. I will probably put him in a lineup. But it's not like someone I'm going overweight on here or anything like that. He's also the one thing I think you could say about Xander, he's actually played here a few times. It's really not, I don't think this is his best spot. So I guess I'm going to ride that train. It's kind of a weak argument, but like, I'm just looking for anything to have some reason to play or not play him. And this week it just kind of falls more on the not side. So
yeah, I'm going to try to cancel him, to be honest. I hope he doesn't like, if he wins the tournament, I'll have a handful of lineups that have some outs. And if he gets cut, I'll have a handful of lineups that dodged a chalky, potentially, not chalky, but upwardly owned Xander. Last guy before we kind of get more to that mid-range is Max Homa, who, he still hasn't really figured it out, certainly at the Masters and in these big events. I thought he obviously showed signs in Florida, got off the West Coast and still played well at the Players. What do you think about Max Homa here, who's another guy with really not a lot of course history to speak of?
Yeah. I mean, Homa is definitely a player I could see potentially just really not liking this course. Just not liking it to the fact that, he made the cut at the Masters last week. He's played a lot of golf to start the season. Max Homa's played almost every event. and you just get to here and you're like, I just don't want to deal with this nonsense. This quirky little track. I'm pretty much 100% out on Homa. It's not a skill thing. It's not that I don't think he belongs where he is. He's certainly proven it, but I feel like the West Coast swing and even Florida has been very good to Max Homa this season. I feel like it's a good time to maybe just take a break. He'll probably, if he misses the cut here, it's kind of a perfect spot for him to reset and get back at it before the PGA. I don't have any reason really to like this spot for him, to be honest. He doesn't have an overly great short game. His putting is more West Coast based. He's certainly not like a driving accuracy guy. He's more of just a pound it out there and on a bigger course. I kind of just hate it all around. So
I'm more with you than against you. Again, you can't play all these guys, and if Max Homa beats me, I'm gonna have to live with that. He's a great player. He's still very, very talented, but you're talking about Xander Finau, who we talked about right above him. Obviously, I want some Cantley Morikawa combos. That's gonna kill this range altogether. And now let's move to the mid range. Justin Thomas, 8,900. Sam Burns, who's a crazy Bermuda putter. Sungjae. Dare I say Tom Kim, this is a great spot for him. Fitzy showed some life. I mean, talk to me about the upper eights, because I think all these guys are in play. And then we didn't even talk about Shane Lowry yet.
I mean, the entire 8K range is just like you make lineups with. I honestly
you actually
think
could.
This is and look, I mean, having played this event like 6 or 7 times for DFS, we have seen like these mid-range, like just weirdly, not even like really chalky, but like weirdly balanced lineups. They just some years they just absolutely destroy here. So just targeting this range alone this week, obviously it's a different kind of field, but yeah, I'm almost just at a loss to like pick my favorite player. I do really like Sungjae. Obviously Justin Thomas under 9K. What are we talking about here? Like, yes, he's a play. I mean, he was gaining strokes. Someone tweeted at me like, oh, he potentially dealing with a hip injury. If it's that big a deal, I don't think he's playing this week, so I'm not really overly worried about it. This is a player who was 2 under par. He had a bad stretch of weather. He got really down on himself and he just made some stupid errors coming in and he missed the cut because of like 6 bad holes. It's exactly what Jordan Spieth did the year before. Thomas was 11th here on his first attempt in 2015. I think that's a really good sign. He's won on Sawgrass, another very quirky Pete Dye design. He's going to be patient this week because he's didn't get to play on the weekend. Probably a little embarrassed considering everyone knows he's the one who caused Tiger Woods to make the cut. And yeah, I think it's just Justin Thomas at 8,900. You don't need to overthink it, but you want to mix in Sam Burns, you want to mix in Sungjae Im. Absolutely. Really like the way Sungjae Im has played at parts this year. His around the green game looks excellent. I think that's going to shine through this week. He's maybe just my favorite overall play.
I mean, yeah, he wanted Honda. The guy, Sungjae, makes a lot of sense for a lot of different reasons. And he wasn't, really taxed last week. He played,
wasn't in
whatever.
Contention. Yeah.
Yeah, and I like that. I like my guys, even for JT, like I'd rather have him miss the cut. What's the difference? If you're not going to contend, it's fine. I think that Justin Thomas, for me, the way I'm treating it, I think the floor is probably a little dicier than we'd expect because I do think there's a chance there's something really wrong. But if there's not, the ceiling is still that he blows the field away, and it doesn't really matter if he can miss the cut more often if he still has that.
The nice thing about Thomas too, if you do bet and you're just like, oh man, like everyone's on Justin Thomas, I want to avoid this. Maybe you think it's a good time. Just he's like 25, 30 to 1, like really easy way just to get exposure to him there. You kind of just you hedge it, whatever you want to do. And yeah, there's so many options here in the A range. Play Burns, play some Tom Kim. It's fine.
What do you make? And yeah, I will talk about particularly a couple states in a little bit, some way to get some extra money in the betting bankroll. What do you make of Fitzy? Because Fitzy plays Harbour Town every year. It's supposed to be like the Matthew Fitzpatrick course. Right. He came in 10th at the Masters. Is it coming together or do you still have questions?
It's a really weird season. Just not used to seeing this kind of inconsistency from him. I was going to ask you, which one of these guys should we be playing from the Fitz, Lowry, Hatton, Fleetwood range? I mean, because I'm trying to figure this out as well. Lowry seems to make the most sense.
I
The
like
tee to green
Hatton.
game has been immaculate, players and the Masters. He probably had a couple chances to win at this venue before, but the whole world sees this too. Hatton is the most intriguing. I think he's got just as much upside as Fitzpatrick or Lowry. And people just still remember this hand thing that was just popped up for like one morning at the match play. So I think Hatton is probably where I would go. I certainly like Fitzpatrick, but like, I mean, it was grindy U.S. Open conditions on a longer course at at the Masters. I think that's actually kind of Matthew Fitzpatrick wheelhouses these days. A shorter course, I would actually lean back here to Hatton, maybe even Fleetwood again. Although I don't want to talk about him this week at all, after how just lame he was last week. So I like Hatton in this range, I guess is what I'm coming to. But I'm open to suggestions here too, Ben. So this is the one that I wanted your advice on.
I really don't have a great, we got the question from Zach.
Yeah.
Who are your top 3 AK guys for you given the ownership? Hatton would be 1 for me.
Okay.
Sanjay would be 2. He's the chalkiest, but I still think he's the best overall play in the range. And Fleetwood would be 3 only because he's sub 10%. He's sitting around 8%. I think Shane Lowry is fine, but you're talking about over double the ownership of a guy like Fleetwood. And as disappointing as Tommy Fleetwood has been, and he has, he's actually playing like way better than you might think. I mean, the guy is making cuts. He could have won Valspar. He came in 33rd at the Masters, 27th at the Players.
Yeah.
It's not as bad as it seems.
I know. And the thing about, and I was going to mention this off top, the thing about Fleetwood and even Finau last week, those guys were T33 and whatever Finau was, T25 or something. They probably brought their C- games. Like they played about as bad as they probably could have. And they were still in the top 40 at the Masters. Like it's not as bad as it looks. It was just bad timing, I think. So you're right. Like Fleetwood was still out there. Like he never really put himself in bad spots. He was actually really solid off the tee. He had a couple good approaches, but it was a little bit up and down. I can get back on it. I mean, look, the first thing I did on Monday was like get some money on Tommy Fleetwood, just because my first thing was like, this idiot's going to like win the tournament after this, after I hyped him up for the Masters. So I felt bad about it after I did. I'm like, that was probably a waste of money, but that's my Tommy Fleetwood exposure for the week. I really like Thiegel at 8K. I would put him probably behind him and Thomas. And I also think Sam Burns is fine. I just, there's so much upside with Burns week to week. I mean, just trying to guess him, like you should just kind of just always play him when he's under 10%. I think at this point, I would say Burns, Thomas is kind of just a no-brainer. But to me, like the lower on play is actually Thiegel. Finished second at the RSM Classic, just up the road here. His around the green game, I don't think people realize how good this guy is, kind of just in an overall, just a shot maker. I compare his game to Jordan Spieth. And I think as we go on, you may see that kind of play out more, where he has success more at venues like this. So we'll see what happens. It was a big week for him. Little worried that it just, drops off. Again, this could be a Davis Riley situation, but I'm very big on him, and he's not pushing over 10% like Fleetwood too.
Yeah, it's truly a range that I honestly would be comfortable getting over on any player.
Yeah.
It wouldn't bother me. There's not one guy here where I'd say, nah, I really don't want, like if I could, I would try to get over on the majority of these. Like I said, I bet Tom Kim at 50-1. I think that he's fine. So
if Tom Kim at 50-1, if we were being offered that, we would have laughed. Like I just been like 50-1. That's like, the best value of the season at the Sony. If someone
it's crazy.
So, yeah.
Now we're staying in the mid range, but we're working down a little bit. It does start to thin out a little bit. You've got Keegan Henley, who played great. Connors was a straight no-show. His around the green really flared up on him at Augusta. Hoocher, who loves this place. Justin Rose is here. Ricky's going to get his own category. What do you make of the upper sevens?
Yeah, so it was a proud moment for me last weekend, just seeing Russell Henley just grind his way to a top 5 finish. I've always been of the opinion he is a player who potentially one day may just do something crazy, like win a major. So I see him put in a career top 5. I regret not getting, that's the player I regret the most not taking a harder stance on last week. I knew he was playing better at the Players. I wish I had shouted him out more on the show too, but certainly I'm not getting off him this week. He is going to be popular though. And the nice thing about Henley in this range is there are lower owned options. Like no one's playing Corey Connors this week. I don't think, at least I don't think. I admittedly haven't looked into.
He's not going to be. I have it up.
Not gonna be crazy. Yeah,
He's
I think
13%.
Yeah.
Keegan. No one is playing Keegan. That
Keegan,
much
okay, that's probably the name I should have gone to there. No one's playing Keegan in this range. There's options here. Kuchar's obviously going to be popular, and I think for good reason. Henley is very much the one thing I'll say about Henley is he is definitely has a far greater variable than Kuchar. I think he's way more live to win than Kuchar, but he's way more live to miss the cut. He has had ups and downs at this event, but again, I think that speaks to the style of track. I also think it speaks to the aggressive nature of Russell Henley. He is going out there trying to birdie every hole on a course like this. He's not trying to like put himself in a decent position like a Matt Kuchar would and then tries to let his putter do the rest. Henley's trying to hit it to within 5 feet. And that's fine with me. I'll play the variance. Obviously, he had a long week last week, but he also gained a lot of confidence. Being able to stay that close to like Rahm and Hovland and Koepka, guys who hit it a mile past him, I think it's legitimate that Russ could do it this week. So, Henley, Kuchar, play them how you want. Keegan's the lower owned option. I don't really have any interest in Justin Rose. I think this is a really kind of a big letdown spot for him. I know it's kind of a course he's had. He's just shown potential at, but he's played a decent amount of golf. He's on the older side, and his record speaks to the fact that I think he's going to be a bit more up and down at this point in his career. So kind of out on Rose. And I'll let you take off the Ricky or start off the Ricky segment.
Yeah, so I'm pretty much in line. I have no problem. I think Kuchar makes a lot of sense. Cash viable for sure. Rose, to me, I'm treating him as someone that is going to continuously try to peak for majors. And that implies that before and after the majors, there's going to be some regression because he's interested in a couple tournaments a year. And it doesn't mean he can't play well, but I just don't think of Justin Rose. I might have a little exposure. The big guy for me in this range is Ricky Fowler. Now, it's going to be a complicated evaluation. It's clear to me that Ricky's found something. His irons are elite. He has gained on the approach in every event this year. His putting has also been good. His off the tee game is kind of hit or miss. He's been a disaster at this particular course, but I also kind of ask myself, I think it's pretty bad data. Ricky was not good anywhere during a lot of these appearances, and he lost 5.5 strokes off the tee last year. I don't think that that's in the range of outcomes for this version of Ricky Fowler. So I'm not overly freaked out by the course history.
Yeah, I admit I was a little bit shocked when I looked it up. And just to clarify this, he's missed 3 cuts, but like you said, one of them came in 2012, which I believe was his first year on tour. So who cares? He didn't play this event for basically a decade. And then he played it in 2020. That was the restart year where the COVID restart. Again, it's just different set of circumstances. Played in June and like no wind. And also like Ricky, that was basically when his downswing started. And then he played it last season. I agree. It is a bad set of data. I'd actually peg this as kind of a decent setup for Ricky Fowler overall. He has certainly had success at Pete Dye courses throughout his career. He's not what you'd call like an accurate driver of the golf ball, but what Ricky also does well is just scramble well and kind of like a Jordan Spieth. He is good at just, firing at pins from kind of wherever. So Harbour Town does require you to be like accurate off the tee, but at the same time, you don't have to like off the tee game is kind of just irrelevant here. People club down. There's holes where you're basically just forced to take an iron off the tee anyways. And, like there's a couple holes where you can get in trouble off the tee. And clearly Ricky did last year, but if you're not an abject disaster, it's not that tough off the tee. It's everything after that comes in. And Ricky's game right now is trending really well in those parts. So absolutely inclined to agree with you. I also like the fact that, Fowler is clearly going to have some ownership, but he's not trending. He's not the chalkiest play. He's going to have less ownership than Kuchar. I fully prefer going to Fowler here over Kuchar.
As we work down, what about your boy Chris Kirk?
I'm a little concerned about just a little bit of like, kind of like what I was talking about with Rose,
Okay.
a little bit with Homa here. I love this setup for Chris Kirk, but he's played a lot of golf to start the year. Played the Valero. He wasn't hitting it great at the Valero. He actually didn't hit it so well last week either. His just around the green game and putting has just been phenomenal to start the year. He was hitting it well, up to the Honda, but it feels like it's dipped off a bit. There's just so many players in this range. I'm okay just saying, we're going to give Chris Kirk a break here. Fine if you want to play him. He's only 7,500. It's a perfect setup for him. But you got Wyndham Clark down there at lower ownership, who I like getting on. The guy who's really improved parts of his game. I think there's a little bit better upside with a guy like Wyndham there. That's who I would prefer.
As we go down to the lower half of the 7K range, ownership goes off a cliff. There is no one over 10%. JT Poston is the only guy that's even emerging as potentially chalky. Minwoo Lee, not going to be popular. Adam Scott, Tom Hoagie, Seamus, Matt Wallace, any of these type, Billy Ho, any of these type of players as those one-offs for your lineups that pique your interest?
So I'm a little surprised that like Webb Simpson isn't trending as with like heavier ownership this week. I mean, Webb Simpson was 8th at the Valspar. He's shown flashes. He's been a little bit up and down, but like this isn't like Riviera. This is Harbor Town. Like this is Webb Simpson's bread and butter here. I mean, Webb Simpson doesn't miss the cut here. Like he didn't miss the cut last season when he was playing terribly. I think it's a fine time to get some Webb Simpson in your life. He's basically going to be a lower owned, cheaper version of Matt Kuchar, in my opinion. So I'm into Webb. I think he's very viable this week. I think he's got a great chance of popping up with the top 10. Player who's kind of on the rise. You can still buy in cheap. Really like that. And then, after Webb, like your guy Seamus is fine. Paulston is fine. But I really do like the guys like further down. I think that Bizanehout is perfect for this course. I think this is a great week to roster him. He's starting to show signs of a little bit of improved ball striking. His around the green game certainly plays well here. He's had success here in the past. And then probably my favorite like sub 3% guy is Adam Svensson.
Oh yeah.
People just forgot that this is like the perfect spot for Svensson. He, T26 here last season, won at Sea Island. He's trending with like sub 3% ownership after a missed cut. I don't care that he missed the cut at Augusta. What a great spot to get on him, in my opinion.
He made the tweet. If you follow me on Twitter at JazzRazDFS, put out the tweet. Guy I'm playing that you shouldn't was Adam Svensson this week.
I don't even think that's someone crazy. Like usually,
I just don't. I don't get it.
No.
Like, okay, he went to the Masters and he didn't have it. He was playing fantastic golf before that. He played here last year. He gained over 5 strokes with the ball striking. What? He's 3% owned? I'm stunned by that. It's an easy buy. Bez is an easy buy. I put Bez on the betting. That's the type of guy, by the way. You said like 100 to 1 shot that could win.
Yeah.
That would be Bez. I do have to ask you though, all seriousness, because no one's going to play Davis Riley. Are you just kind of putting him on ice and saying, we need to see something? Or do you kind of say he's going to be 1% owned? And it's a guy that not long ago was, he was torching courses.
Look, I'll probably put Davis Riley in the lineup just to balance my Bez and Svensson exposure. Absolutely, man. But what have we seen from Riley throughout his career? He has these throw up moments, but then what does he do? The next event, he comes out and gains 7 strokes on approach or 7 strokes putting. He's an elite player. I think that, he probably started to buy into some stuff at Valero. The driver wasn't working for him. He couldn't figure it out. It just turned into a really ugly day. But here's the thing about Davis Riley too. If you watched him at Valero, to end his first round, he had a drive into the rough. He had 280 to go on like an impossible par 5. He hit his 3-wood about 285 to 7 feet. There's probably like 10 players on the PGA Tour can hit that shot. That's the kind of talent we're talking about. So yeah, I'll probably do something stupid like throw $15 on him to win or something. He's not going to win, but I think for DFS, absolutely is a 1% play. I look down here. You know, your guy Sam Ryder is actually kind of interesting. Ben Martin, unfortunately, is probably going to be semi-chalky this week. But I mean, yeah, Davis Riley almost won at Colonial last season, which is a great comp for this course. He could absolutely do it. And when he does do it, it'll probably be on a week like this where everybody just forgets he even exists.
I totally get it, and I'm not opposed to it. I might have some exposure. The thing that actually makes it tougher for me is there's 5 other guys that are also going to be like 3% owned right next to him who I feel good about. Justin Sue is the guy I want to bring up next. He's not going to be popular. The guy's playing great golf, good short game, getting better with seemingly every start on tour. You know, top 10 at the Players. This is a player, no pun intended. So he's there. You've got Ben Martin. Detry, I'll be honest, I don't know what to really do with him. Brio, of course, is there. He's going to steal some shares for me. There's just a lot of guys at the bottom of the 7s that I think can and should be playable. Not on Sam Stevens, for anyone asking there. I don't see that at all. Sam Ryder, do you buy that? I think I'm passing. He made me a lot of money.
I actually like in this range, and this is a player I always talk down, but I think he's actually priced appropriately this week, is Maverick McNeely.
Elite putter.
Fantastic record of this course. I think he shot 5 under here in 4 of his 12 rounds. And it kind of makes sense. I mean, whereas McNeely had his best finishes, it's Pebble Beach, another shorter seaside course, small greens. And people just kind of forgotten about him too. But, you know, McNeely's usually a guy who's like 8K and then everyone plays him. He's 7,200. He's mixed in this range, like you said, where there's like a million other players like him. You know, Davis, Justin Sue, Kurt Kitayama's down here for some weird reason, even though he's like 20th in the world. So McNeely, I wrote him up as a great first round leader bet too. He's got an early tee time, but that's another player I could see mixing in. I agree with you on Justin Sue. I mean, the thing with the Davis Riley or Justin Sue, if you're like, for me, I'm just like pot committed on Davis Riley. Like, I'm not going to completely forget about him any week. But like, if you're just taking this as a fresh start, you've never invested in Davis Riley, you don't have to play him at all. So don't take that as something like you're missing out. He's just a hugely high variance player right now. Sue probably has a way better floor. McNeely certainly has a better floor. But you can kind of just pick your poison in this range, man. You can play Ryan Fox.
Yeah.
Again,
Ryan Fox
top
at
40 player in the
Valero
world.
was
Ryan
awful.
Fox, that was bad. You can play Ryan Fox and Davis Riley. The Valero special.
I hear it. Why not Sam Stevens? It's pretty simple for me. There's too many guys in this range. I don't know what exactly Sam Stevens can do. He gained 6 strokes at Valero putting. I just have no rhyme or reason for this.
This is Sam Stevens, to me, guys, like, this is where the course comes into play with some of these guys. You have to realize Sam Stevens is not, I don't think his style of game is necessarily great for this course anyways. He did it at Valero, which is a really open course where you can just kind of smash driver. He got hot with his putter there. I don't see this as being a good spot for him. And as Ben mentioned, like, even Aaron Rye, Hughes, these guys are just, they set up so much better. They have more refined games, in my opinion, at this point. Yeah, if Sam Stevens beats you, you shouldn't lose any sleep.
Yeah, this is also like, you know, he was great at Corrales and Valero, like Rahm and Scheffler and Morikawa, and like, this is a real field. He didn't play at the Masters for obvious reasons. So not just to pick on him because he's playing great golf, but there's 20 other guys I would rather play. Even Nick Taylor, that was just suggested as we crash into the salary savers. Before we get there, I do want to say, and it's going to connect to what I said a little earlier, there are opportunities not just to hedge, but some of these guys I think are better bets than DFS plays, and I think some guys are better DFS plays than bets. Then I think there's some that are both. Like, I bet Ricky Fowler top 40 at plus money. Like, I really like that bet. Certainly, yeah, like him and Fleetwood, by the way. Fleetwood's also plus money for a top 40 here.
No.
What? Like, I don't get that. Regardless, if you are in a state, particularly the states of New Jersey, Colorado, Ohio, or Virginia, you have Bet365 available in your state. And it's a fantastic book. Obviously, Jeff knows all about it because he's in Canada and they've been up there forever. You can get $200 in bonus bets. You see there, you sign up, you deposit 10, you claim your offer, you get $200. Pretty damn simple. You got to be 21 plus. got to be responsible. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. But I can't speak to it enough. Extra money for the bankroll. You could take that money and put it on some of these guys and have them covered outside of your DFS lineup. So take advantage. You see those pictures flashing on the screen. God help us all. But really, really cool book. One that I desperately hope gets to New York soon enough.
Gotta be 21 or over to look at that picture of Link.
Yeah, well, that's
man. Like
we're just slowly merging into Stokastic only fans, which will be here soon enough. The way we're going. Anyway, let's get into the 6K range. Still a lot of talent down here. Akshke, your boy, Mr. Batia is down here. Nick Taylor, Brendan Todd. I mean, this is like a Brendan Todd paradise. What do you see when you look to the salary savers?
Yeah, Brendan Todd. Brendan Todd probably gonna finish like T7 this week. Todd is certainly in play. The thing is, like, this field is so deep, and this course just brings in so many different people that, I mean, I'm just going to go over my favorite plays, but there are a million different people here who could fit in. Joel Damon starting to get it together a bit. The ball striking's better. He's made 3 cuts in a row. It hasn't translated. It's a great course for him. He's had some top finishes here. Week off again, coming in fresh. We know how talented he is. This is the kind of course where Joel Damon can kind of believe in himself. He's not going to be disadvantaged off the tee. I don't even know what I was trying to say there. So Damon at 6,900, I like. Brandon Wu is really interesting. I'm a little bit. He's big time variance, Brandon Wu, this week, and it's all about how much risk you want. But this is the kind of course again where has Brandon Wu had his success? Pebble Beach, I believe the Scottish Open last season. Open style venues by the sea, shorter courses. He's never played here before, which is why I say it's highly variable. Doesn't have the experience that Damon does, but certainly a player I like. And I think for DFS, you want to round out your lineup with like a 1% owned guy. That is where I would look. And then, we've mentioned a couple of them. Nick Taylor does make a lot of sense. Todd, obviously, Badia, Tyler Duncan is another one.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely, T-Dunks. T-Dunks could get in the mix this week. Would not shock me. So those are 5 names right off the bat that I would feel comfortable taking shots with. Some of these guys are more variable than others. I think Taylor and Todd probably have the best kind of just, what you call floors. I think Damon's pretty solid too, but Damon, we haven't quite seen it from him yet. So it's just all about your risk ability. I think there's some real upside plays down here though, for sure.
Yeah, I have T-Dunks in a couple key lineups actually. One thing, and I want to get your thoughts on this. I don't want to get too crazy, but I do like to look at this, and it kind of supports some of these flyers and some of these connections. One thing that I kept seeing when I was cross-referencing some guys is a comp to Wyndham. Right. And when you look at that, you've seen some guys have a lot of success. I mean, obviously to me, CT Pan comes to mind, his 2 best finishes on tour. And you mentioned just now that Brandon Wu, like, where were his best finishes on tour? The one you didn't, the other top 10 that he's got is at Wyndham. And then you look at Wyndham from last year, who won it? That would be Tom Kim. And Sanjay was second. Some of the guys that I think make a lot of sense for a lot of different reasons. So I just wanted to point that out. I do think there is something there to those type. T-Dunks has had some good showings at Wyndham as well. We got a couple minutes left. We're going to build a lineup in a second. I have to ask you about EVR though. We don't want to do anything crazy, right? Or do we?
Oh my God. Oh yeah.
I have a splash in my lineups, but I don't know how you could confidently do anything with him right now.
Yeah. Again, so the other thing I did in terms of betting this week was Van Ryan was like 300 to 1 on Bet365. I just put it a little top 8 each way. Again, I'll just sleep better if he's, in the lead or something after Friday. So that's a pretty simple way to play. I don't think you need to do it. I'm actually kind of more interested in Michael Thompson there. Okay. Michael Thompson, again, if you don't know too much about him, he's a really elite putter. If you just watch him putt, that's like the way, like you can just tell by watching Michael Thompson putt that he knows how to putt. Like that he's just not going to, he's just not like Luke List or something out there. It's amazing. But he's he was a talented amateur. It's certainly these style of courses, Honda, he's won at, is where you play him. He's pretty highly variable, but I feel like with the way Van Rooyen's playing, I mean, I don't know. I think both those guys I actually have a little bit of interest in, but I just, the betting side of it with EVR is take him top 10, because if he does play well, he probably will finish in the top 10. So if you're really sick, I mean, you can certainly go there, but I think with all the talent in like 68 and above, really trying to stay out of this range is probably the best advice that I could give this week. Cause I do feel like there's a pretty precipitous drop off after kind of 6,800.
I would agree. Yeah, I'll say, listen, the thing about Michael Thompson, you mentioned elite putter, but it's not just elite putter, elite Bermuda putter specifically. Like this is a guy that thrives in only one part of the schedule. And it's this type of stuff. Like you're not going to see him on POA, really ripping it up. It's just not what he does. So I get it. I'm not going to really advocate for much more. I will say, I think triple mega mind genius play. So you got to take that for what it's worth. I got to some Lucas Glover.
Okay.
He's the type of guy, eventually, once in a while, his putter cooperates.
Yeah.
He's shown really nothing. But it's Lucas Glover. He's got a lot of experience in these type of events. He's been doing it for a long time.
Absolutely.
I don't have much to say other than that. I don't think you want to go much lower.
No, I mean, I don't hate it. Look, I mean, I spent like 2 years trying to bet Lucas Glover for a win. He's still a really good ball striker. He doesn't have a ton of length anymore, but where did he grab his last win? It was at John Deere, like you said, when the putter cooperated. So his short irons can get hot. He's 66. He's made 3 cuts in a row. I definitely don't hate it. Everyone else here just feels like, you're just basically blindfold targeting. At least with Glover, we got a little bit of a recent form to build off of and pretty good course history. So definitely do not hate that call. I'm just looking down here if I forgot everyone. I mean, Luke Donald's down here, I guess. Russell Knox, who I wrote up for a first round leader bet. That's probably a better way to play Russell Knox. He's like 175-1 first round leader. He did gain strokes on approach of Valero, and he's not going to be hampered by his off the tee play here. So he could definitely make the cut. He's had some success, but yeah.
All right. It's time to do a couple of things, all of equal importance. One, I always like to say, of course, if you're joining us for the first time, if you've been hanging out here at Stokastic, you can hit the like button. We always appreciate that. Subscribe to the channel. Go to OddsShopper Golf. Subscribe there. Just be part of the entire community that we have going on. No matter what you like, whether it's betting or DFS, we have you covered. We're going to build a lineup momentarily. Who the hell is Tommy Gibson?
Oh, boy.
That's the only guy in the field that I do not know. Do you know who that is?
I got no clue, man.
Okay.
I Googled Tommy Gibson, and the first thing that comes up is the disappearance of Thomas Gibson, unsolved mysteries. So the fact he's not even the first Google search, he's like 10th in Google searches. So
you might not have a wiki.
I got no idea, man. Chat on that. Who's Tommy Gibson?
We don't know. We're gonna figure that out. He's certainly a creative player. That's a guarantee. But let's build the lineup. Jordan, what do you say? You want to build a lineup? It looks like you want to build a lineup. You're building a lineup. All right. Let's see what we can do. Where do we get things started here? I screwed it up last week. Back on the horse.
Right, Rory. Okay. What should I do here to start things off? Man, it feels like so many playable ranges. I am going to go with Sungjae Im. Go a little shock to start off.
All right. Sungjae. So we got Sungjae Im in. I'm going to also kind of keep it. The build is yet to be determined. I'm going to put in Ricky. He's my favorite play on the slate. I think he's going to play well. He fits every type of build because he's firmly in the mid-range. And with Sungjae and Ricky, we could go balanced. We could go stars and scrubs. Everything is still in play.
Like it. I definitely like it. I think you've kind of sold me on Ricky.
You guys got no Wikipedia.
He really doesn't.
No, he doesn't. I'm reading about all the Thomas Gibsons.
I like the fact that Fowler kind of brings our total ownership down a little bit too. My God, now having a absolute seniors moment. Okay, let's go down to the 7,000 range. Let's get a little bit, not too crazy, but we both like. We both like Bez. I like Bez a lot.
Yeah.
I was gonna go Svensson. I like Bez more than Svensson. Let's go Bez.
Beautiful. Bez is in there. I have no problem with that. And again, I'm gonna keep it where we can get like crazy aggressive and go get maybe Patrick Cantlay or something like that, or not. And I'm gonna put in Tommy Fleetwood. I know that Tommy Fleetwood is a pain point, but he's $8,100. We've made this lineup very unique with only 4 players. And Tommy Fleetwood, I'm going to make this the theme of my show. I said it right at the beginning, expectations. You know, I thought Tommy Fleetwood was going to win at Valspar, and then he didn't. He came in 3rd, and I was disappointed. Thought he was going to be amazing at the Masters. He wasn't. He still made the cut, and he was fine. He's been way better than it seems. 8,100 Fleetwood, 4th man in.
Yeah, so now we can basically do anything. We could go Scheffler and like Wyndham Clark. We could go. We could go Cantlay and like Hatton. That's probably what I would prefer is to go Cantlay. And then again, I mean, it's your choice to finish it off. But the nice thing is, if Lowry and Cantlay are both going to be super chalky, but you've got Hatton and Thigala down there, both far lesser owned. Would be a nice way to round up, but it's up to you. I'll go Cantlay.
Yep. And this is, again, it's dealer's choice because I think this lineup is kind of sneaky enough with Bez. If you're in the right thing, you could put Shane Lowry in there and be fine.
And the other 2 V2 we could do, actually, I didn't realize, but Tom Kim and Morikawa fit. So, geez, like that is.
I'm telling you, this is the type of build that I really want to work off.
Yeah.
A lot of 2 V2s work. You're not going crazy. We avoided my priorities for my lineups. Try to get exposure to the 8K range and avoid the real bad 6K range. We've done both of that here. I don't think we sacrificed a ton of win equity up top. I love it. Excellent work. We really accomplished everything that I set out to do except find out who Tommy Gibson is, but you can't do everything on these shows.
It's an unsolved mystery. It's like I said, man, it's an unsolved
mystery. Next week, friends, what can I say? We'll be back next week to figure that out. In the meantime, if you have questions about Tommy Gibson or anything else, at the Fantasy Grind, follow Jeff there. You can follow me at JazzRazDFS. And of course, for the 3rd member of the team, Jordan Klein, hanging out with us all night, breaking down the show, building lineups with us. We appreciate you, my man. All the links are in the description of this video. Follow and check out everything we got going on. Good luck. Enjoy. Of course, I'll see you guys next week.